Room 307. Chapter 5, The Register, 2:41 a.m. Nobody moved. The receptionist's final sentence seemed to settle over the lobby like a dense fog, robbing the room of whatever warmth had remained only moments before. Ethan searched the man's face for the slightest hint of humor. There was none. "You answered it," Ethan repeated. "Yes." "The telephone in my room." "Yes." "The call where somebody warned me." The receptionist inclined his head almost imperceptibly. "I answered before you did." Liam looked between them. "Right. I'm officially lost." "So am I," Sophie admitted. "What does that even mean?" The receptionist rested one hand lightly on the polished reception desk. "I'm afraid that question has more than one answer." Daniel let out a sharp, frustrated laugh. "Can everybody stop talking like they're in a riddle?" His voice echoed around the lobby before disappearing into the silence. "We've all been dragged out of bed because every phone in the hotel has gone mad. We're being told not to leave our rooms. This man says he answered somebody else's phone." He pointed towards Ethan. "You know, and everyone seems perfectly happy asking polite questions." "I'm not happy," Chloe whispered. Daniel immediately softened. "I know." He placed an arm around her shoulders. "I'm sorry." "No, you're right." She looked towards reception. "I just want somebody to tell us what's happening." "So do I," Ethan said quietly. The receptionist folded his hands. "I understand." "No," Ethan replied, taking a slow step towards the desk. "I don't think you do." The room fell silent again. The receptionist watched him without blinking. "If you've worked here for years, then you'll know this building better than anyone. You know there's no room 307, yet every guest receives a warning mentioning it. You somehow know about a phone call inside my room before I answer it. And when we ask simple questions, you keep telling us you can't answer instead of saying you don't know." The receptionist listened patiently. "You've noticed." "I'd hope so." Another small pause, and then almost apologetically, the receptionist said, "I truly wish there were answers I was able to give you." Again, able, not willing. Ethan caught Sophie's eye. She had noticed the wording too. Outside, rain continued tapping gently against the enormous lobby windows. The weather hadn't changed. The building hadn't changed. Everything still looked exactly as it had during dinner, which somehow made the conversation feel even less believable. Liam wandered towards the front entrance. "Let's just leave." Nobody stopped him. He reached the heavy oak doors and grasped the large brass handle. It refused to move. He frowned and pulled harder. Nothing. "They're locked." "So unlock them," Daniel called. "I'm trying." Liam examined the lock. "No key." "What?" "There isn't one." The others slowly joined him. Sure enough, the enormous doors contained no visible keyhole, only polished brass handles mounted against thick oak panels. "That can't be right," Ethan said. He crouched slightly, running his fingers around the edge of the frame. Nothing. No electronic lock, no deadbolt, no keypad. The doors looked as though they had been designed to open freely from the inside. Yet they remained completely immovable. Sophie tried one handle herself. It didn't shift by so much as a millimeter. "What about another exit?" she asked. "The terrace?" Liam suggested. "The kitchens?" "The side entrance?" Without needing to agree, the group naturally split into pairs. Daniel and Chloe headed towards the restaurant. Liam disappeared through a corridor marked Residence Lounge. Sophie chose a hallway leading towards the kitchens. Ethan remained where he was. Something about the reception desk continued drawing his attention. Margaret quietly joined him. "You noticed it too." "What?" "The register." He looked down. A large leather-bound guest register sat open on the polished desk beside the computer. Unlike most hotels, the receptionist appeared to keep both digital and handwritten records. Its thick cream pages were filled with neat columns of names, dates, and room numbers. "Would you mind them?" Ethan asked. The receptionist considered the question. Then, rather unexpectedly, he stepped aside. "Please." The movement surprised everyone. Ethan approached cautiously. The page listed every guest currently staying at Alder House. Names, arrival dates, room numbers. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary. He recognized several entries immediately. Margaret Doyle, room 311. Ethan Carter, room 214. Daniel and Chloe Harper, room 118. Sophie Reed, room 203. Liam Brooks, room 216. Liam, Margaret, Sophie. Everyone was exactly where they should be. So there is a third floor, Ethan murmured. Margaret looked over his shoulder. I told you. He nodded slowly. You did. He continued reading. Most of the names meant nothing. Business travelers, couples, families. Then, halfway down the page, his eyes stopped. Room 307. The room number had no guest beside it. Only one handwritten sentence. Reserved, do not allocate. Ethan frowned. Reserved for whom? There was no arrival date, no departure date, no name. Only those 3 words. Margaret leaned closer. That wasn't there. You've seen the register before? No. Then how do you know? I don't. She hesitated. She looked genuinely confused. It doesn't feel like it belongs. Ethan couldn't explain why, but he agreed. The handwriting looked subtly different from every other entry. Not messier, older. The ink itself appeared darker somehow. Almost black. He reached toward the page. The receptionist spoke quietly. I wouldn't. Ethan stopped. Why? The ink hasn't dried yet. Everyone looked down. The sentence glistened faintly beneath the lobby lights. Fresh. Impossible. Someone had written it only moments ago. No one had approached the desk. No one had touched the register. Yet the ink looked as though the pen had barely left the paper. A chill spread through Ethan's chest. Who wrote this? The receptionist didn't answer. Who wrote it? Ethan repeated. I didn't. You expect us to believe that? I don't expect you to believe anything. Liam returned from the lounge. No luck. The windows? Don't open. The fire exit? Locked. What about the lounge? He shook his head. Everything's normal. Daniel and Chloe reappeared. So's the restaurant. The kitchen staff, Sophie asked as she emerged from the opposite corridor. There aren't any. What? Nobody. The kitchen's empty. A heavy silence settled across the lobby. The receptionist remained behind his desk, perfectly calm, perfectly composed, as though empty kitchens at nearly 3 a.m. required no explanation whatsoever. 2:56 a.m., the grandfather clock standing beside the fireplace chimed softly. 3 slow notes. Ethan instinctively checked his watch. 2:56. The clock was wrong. 24 minutes wrong. I thought... Liam frowned. Didn't that thing say 3:15 earlier? No, Daniel replied. I'm sure it didn't. I'm telling you, it did. You've only just noticed it? No. Liam scratched his head. I noticed because I thought my watch had stopped. Margaret quietly turned towards the row of antique clocks mounted high along the opposite wall. London, Edinburgh, New York, Tokyo, Sydney. Earlier that evening, none of them had agreed. Now, everyone displayed exactly the same time. 2:56, even New York, even Tokyo, even Sydney, every clock, every city. The second hands ticked together, perfectly synchronized, perfectly wrong. Nobody said a word. The receptionist followed their gaze. Then, for the first time since Ethan had arrived at Alder House Hotel, his smile disappeared. He looked at the clocks with something Ethan had not believed possible. Fear. It lasted barely a second, perhaps less. Then his expression returned to its usual calm professionalism. But Ethan had seen it. So had Margaret. The receptionist slowly looked toward the staircase. His voice, when he finally spoke, sounded quieter than before. They're early. Nobody had time to ask what he meant. Somewhere above them, on the 3rd floor, a door closed. Slowly, not slammed, not hurried, simply closed. Every person in the lobby looked up together. The sound echoed through the hotel with dreadful clarity. Then from somewhere far above them came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, Not running, not wandering, walking, measured, deliberate, crossing the third floor corridor, heading towards the staircase.